Hello and welcome back. It's Kutaki Podcast episode 4 on Sunday, October 9th. And it's a rainy day, a cloudy day, a gray day here in Chiba. I'm Shawn, and once again, I'll be your host for this show. We don't have any interviews lined up for today, so we're just going to sit back and kind of chill out, chat a bit, and maybe listen to some music. The rain and birds that you hear in the background were given to me from Eva from Hungary, and since they really match the sounds of my neighborhood around the Tenchiyama apartment today, I thought they'd provide a really great backdrop for this part of the show. So thank you very much, Eva, for sending those along. There are a lot of people who have been arriving in the past week for training, and I get the feeling that it's going to be crowded right up to and through Daikomyosai. And so once again, I just wanted to mention to people who may be coming over that go to the dojo, especially when it's wet and rainy like today, that you might want to take a plastic bag for your shoes so that when you go into the entranceway at Hombu, which can get really crowded with shoes, you can just take your shoes, put them in a plastic bag, and put them inside of your gear bag, so that the Genkan entranceway of the dojo doesn't get so piled up with people's shoes. And this will also help you find your shoes much more easily after training, because they're already in your bag and you don't have to sort through the big pile of shoes in the doorway trying to find your shoes so that you can get out the door and out of the way of everyone else who's trying to do the same thing. And that's one way that you can help keep things clean and also minimize the footprint that you leave on your environment at Hombu and in Noda and in Japan in general.
Were you seen? In this, you must never lapse. Even those who would be our allies would not understand. Our domain is the shadow. Stray from it reluctantly. For when you do, you must strike hard and fade away without a trace.
Some words of wisdom there from Master Splinter. Come to Japan, keep a low profile, train really hard, and leave everything just as you found it when you leave. Speaking of training, on Monday, October the 10th, which is tomorrow, there's going to be a martial arts Embu demonstration at the Ayase Budokan in Tokyo, where Hatsumi Sensei normally holds his Tuesday class. It will start at 10 or 10:30 in the morning. I can't remember exactly which, but 10 or 10:30. There will be about 7 different martial arts presenting their arts to the public. The Bujinkan will be one of those. And the Bujinkan section of the demo will be presented between around 11:15 and 11:30 from what we've been told. Of course, that kind of depends on the exact length of the other demonstrations, but if you're there by 11, you should be in time to watch the Bujinkan section anyway. I'd like to take a minute to thank everybody for the positive feedback they've been giving on the forums at Kutaki, and I'd also like to thank people who have sent me links to music that I can use, or actual music that I can use. It seems we have a musician in the Bujinkan by the name of Pete Lostro, who is also a member of the Kutaki website at kutaki.org, and he has sent me a few songs that he's given me permission to use on the podcast, and so I'd like to play one of those now. It's called Blue Lizards on the Wall.
Last summer cracked the mighty plane. blazing suns scan through fog with broken lamps and act surprised when kingdom never comes. Those nights so dark and damp, the walls will seem to sweat and bend. Do you see, oh do you see, dark blue lizards clinging to them? It's hot today, but I feel so cold. Played a twisted game, eating drugs to neuter name. This world's insane, no one seems to know what's going on. No one seems to know what's going on.
Once again, Pete Lostro with Blue Lizards on the Wall. I don't actually know if Pete has a website up for his music, but if you'd like to find out more about his music, you can contact him directly through PM on the Kutaki website. His username at Kutaki is Pete Lostro, PeteLoHStroh. Once again, thank you very much for that great addition to the podcast. It's nice to have our fellow Bujinkan artists share their talents with us. I'd also like to take a minute to say a big thank you very much to Mike Lunum, aka Nodako, for having me on his Podgy's podcast, Podgy's Tokyo Talk, Podgy. If you want to search for that in iTunes, you can find his podcast. He talks about life in Japan and life in Tokyo as an expat, as a foreigner, and has some good insights, some great music, and it's another really good podcast to listen to. I had the honor of being the first interviewee on the Podgy's podcast, and we were recording on Skype, and I think I was sitting a little bit too close to my computer at the time, so my voice came out very loud. Hopefully I wasn't too loud and obnoxious and didn't scare any subscribers away from his show. Once again, thanks a lot, Mike, for having me on. Getting back to dojo stuff for a moment, with all of the people, again, coming over to Japan this fall, and with more coming for Daikomyosai, I'd just like to take a second to say that if you are going to ask Sensei a question through an interpreter, to please take a minute and think about what you're going to say and what you're going to ask and how that might be interpreted by Sensei before you actually grab one of the translators and ask him to convey your thoughts to Sensei. I can't speak for the other translators, but for myself, if you are going to ask Sensei to promote you or ask Sensei for your next rank, please do not ask me to do that. I don't really feel comfortable with that level of Japanese, and that kind of thing has to be phrased very delicately. So for myself, I would prefer if you find someone else to ask Sensei about that kind of thing. If, on the other hand, you would like to ask Sensei or one of the Shihan about something directly related to training, or some paperwork related thing, or something like that, I'm sure myself or any of the other people who can speak Japanese would be more than happy to help you out with those questions. We'll finish off the podcast today with some royalty-free music that Bas Martens from the Netherlands found for me. That's Shicom on Kutaki, Shicomm. Thank you very much for finding me this music. It's Kick Shift with City Limits. some great ambient tunes for a very mellow Sunday afternoon. Once again, thanks very much for making me aware of that music. Just before we close, I also wanted to send out a congratulations to Mats Hjelm in Sundbyberg, Sweden, and the Kaigozan Dojo there that's celebrating their 15-year anniversary. I've enjoyed Mats' hospitality in Sweden a few times and got to know some people from the Kaigozan Dojo. They're a great bunch of people to train with, so if you're ever in the Stockholm area and looking for a place to train, that's a great option that you can look at, and I highly recommend them. Just getting toward the end of the podcast here, and wanted to say that if you have a question or comment that you would like to make on the show, or a question that you would like to be addressed on the podcast, please email those to me at kouryu@kutaki.org. That's KOURYUU at kutaki.org. KUTAKI.org. And we'll see if we can bring those up on the show. Once again, this is Shawn signing off, and we'll see you again in episode 5.